it's redundant.
Okay, let's try to get this done, folks. So PW 7.6, Drinking Water Licensing Program Update and Standard of Care Training to Courses for Members of City Council. Councillor Moser held it.
The question as far as liability, I don't know if anybody was here from our legal department.
Yes, right behind you, Councillor.
Pardon?
Behind you.
Okay. Is there any possibility of any, if we take this particular course, I don't know what liability do we have now as far as water issues?
I'm not sure if this microphone works. But is that working? Yes. If you look in the report, I just have to find the right page. There's actually a reference that if you in making a decision rely on a certain expert information that you get from staff, that it protects you. I have to just find the right page. It's actually in the report. It's also in the section. Let me just put this microphone down and find it.
Through Madam Chair, the specific issue that's addressed in the training report deals with the provision in the Safe Drinking Water Act, which talks about the statutory standard of care that's supposed to be exercised by all people that are providing oversight to drinking water systems in the province of Ontario, and that captures politicians and officials and operators. Each have different roles to play, and each have to be informed of what their responsibilities and roles are. So this course would outline all of the various procedures that are in place, as well as the questions that should be asked and the reports that should be presented to councillors to deal with that standard of care provision, and therefore the responsibilities we have as officials running the drinking water system.
But I don't have the expertise or input to understand exactly what we're doing at a grassroots level. If I approve something, like your phosphorus, and later on we find out phosphorus is not good for the process, you're saying people could sue the councillors individually?
Well, I can tell you, I found the reference in the report that I was looking for, which is on page 6 of the report. The Act...
Talk up a little bit or closer.
Sorry, the microphone's kind of broken. The Act specifically says that a councillor is not considered to have failed to carry out your duty, so you wouldn't be responsible if you rely in good faith on a report of an engineer, lawyer, accountant, or other person whose professional qualifications lend credibility to the report. So if you have a report from engineer, professional staff that tell you that everything's fine and you rely on that report, that does protect you.
So if I don't take this particular course, for some reason I can't make it, or I'm in the hospital, or which happens, are you saying that there's a liability if I don't take the course now that it's provided?
Through Madam Chair, I'll answer that question. The short answer would be no. It is a best management practice, though, that is recommended by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the Walkerton Clean Water Centre, who have tailor-made this program for municipal councillors across the province. If you don't take it, you're relying then still on the expert advice being provided to you by myself as the general manager and any consultants or engineers or professionals that we engage in and we put forward in reports here. So you're still protected in that manner. It's just good due diligence to take the course and be aware of the responsibilities that we each have under the Safe Drinking Water Act.
But I still don't understand when we're liable.
Basically what he said, if you get sick, you're a dum-dum, you have to listen to them and do what they say.
Through you, Madam Speaker,
Well, I don't need that kind of
if I address
comment.
it specifically, the only situation that I can think of is if you had explicit instructions to proceed down a certain path by staff, and that was documented in a report to take certain actions, and council chose to go in a different course of action without backup or certification, then the council itself has changed the direction, changed the advice, and then potentially could be liable.
So when will we know that?
I believe, through you, Madam
This thing
Chair.
is so wide open. I'm really concerned about this.
Through you, Madam Chair, that is the laws of the province, and we cannot change that. What we suggest to councillors is whenever there is a change particularly as affects the Safe Drinking Water Act, and we're on council floor, that councillors ask for legal advice and perhaps go in camera and get direction on what are the liabilities and implications, not only for the corporation, because the corporation as a city is liable, but as individuals potentially as well. That would be the advice I'd give you at that time.
You know if all the MPPs have taken this course?
Through you, Madam Speaker, the course is specifically designed for municipal councillors, so I doubt that any
Well, if
members
you
of
say
Parliament.
there's liability on different levels, do you know if there's a different course for provincial representatives?
They don't make decisions on.
So, Councillor, let me just
John
say one thing. Your liability is always there. Your liability is increased when you don't rely on the professional advice, and your liability will be increased by not taking the course.
That's not what I was told by the solicitor.
That's exactly what he told you.
That's what I heard.
Okay, that's what we've heard, and your time's up. So, Councillor Holiday.
So I guess I'm going to look at the price. Can we deliver this in-house between our solicitor and professional staff in the city that know this information? Maybe they don't know the information. I don't know. Let me know.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I believe our staff, along with our legal staff, could put together a presentation that would speak to it, but it would be tied to the specific liabilities as the city. The reason that we recommended the program as delivered by the Walkerton Clean Water Centre is because that was a program that was built by a provincial Crown agency. They run that centre. It's designed to talk about the legislation, why it was created, and how municipal councils across the province engage within their activities. It's a third-party opportunity to learn how to ask questions of Toronto Water. So I have no problem recommending an external training provider to give you some advice of what questions ask your general manager when I'm in front of you, rather than staff providing that training. We could do it. It's a cross-check, essentially.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that, I mean, I guess there's internal costs of putting this together. Would they be somewhat comparable?
Through you, Madam Speaker, there might be some costs with preparation, but most of the costs would be absorbed by staff. We have very competent lawyers that advise Toronto Water. They're experts that deal with environmental legislation. We also have compliance staff that know our role. So we could put it together. We just don't have the package built already.
Okay.
So it would take us some time to put a training package together versus getting one already in use and accessible.
So time. So I guess, would it be fair to say that it is cost-effective to pay $3,500 to an outside firm to do this? Or an outside agency?
I think it's a wise investment. That's the way I would put
Okay.
forward. There's a cost to education, and that's an investment to me. It educates everyone, and we become better for it as a municipality running our system.
And last question, I guess the chance of making it to 44 councillors with a session is, in my experiences thus far, very unlikely. Do we dilute the effectiveness of the program if we don't reach everybody and we only reach a few?
Through you, Madam Speaker, it would be wonderful to get all 44 to take it, and we plan to offer it in 2 separate sessions to increase that chance. We did run this program a few years back, about 4 years back, and we got about 20, 25 councillors participate. I'll be blunt, I'll take whoever I can get, but in particular, I would love this committee to take that course so they become more knowledgeable, but I welcome every councillor to attend.
Okay, and so we did this in the past, and I guess we did the same, we got the agency to come in and do this the same way?
Yes, we did. It was
Okay.
actually delivered by, at that time, the president of the Ontario Clean Water Centre. He's retired now, but we had their president come here and do the training.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Toronto Public Health went in and did a super screening job in the schools on kids' teeth. And this shows you what our fluoridation program actually is not addressing. And here, the following chart shows the percentage of students suspected of having tooth decay in Toronto Public and Catholic schools. And the red line shows, it's black in this case, the 14% high-risk threshold for schools in the city of Toronto. And there's quite a number of them. The photographs of students' mouths taken during the dental screening portrays a startling picture of a public health problem in Toronto that has flown under the radar for years. Broken teeth, bubbling abscesses, and dark pods of leathery decay.
Can I just clarify, the item is lead pipes, not fluoridation?
Exactly.
Okay.
And the connection here is that when you add fluoridating agents to your drinking water, you increase the lead leaching in lead pipes and also in the brass lead fixtures within buildings in the city. And so what you have happening is with the fluoridation program, you have, is that you've got the lead leaching actually exacerbated, which may be causing the need for a lot more phosphoric acid to buffer so that there is less lead in the drinking water for the City of Toronto residents. And if you're adding phosphate or phosphoric acid, you're also putting in something that at the end of the process, the sewage treatment plants must remove, and that's the phosphate before it goes out into Lake Ontario. And so I'm just wondering if there has been a full look at the fact that the fluoridating agent, hydrofluorosilicic acid, is actually causing this increased demand for phosphoric acid. And if it is, if you're all concerned about costs in programs and effectiveness of programs and the chemicals that you're adding to your drinking water that are supposed to be effective, then I'm questioning whether there's really a full analysis of this and a full costing, and if there are actual savings that could be made. In Scotland, they now have a
Karen, you have
Child
to wrap
Smile
up.
program that looks after kids' teeth and is effective. They do not fluoridate there.
Okay, Karen, thanks very much. And I actually didn't start the clock right away, so you got extra time. Any questions? Seeing none, any questions for staff? Councillor Moser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it Lou?
Yes.
Yeah. 34,000 homes. How many a year can we do reasonably? I think I've asked you this before, but I'd like to ask it again. So, you know, with the contractors that are available, how many can we reasonably do a year?
Through you, Madam Chair, the estimate on the change out of lead services is between 4,000 to 5,000 services per year, and we're doing that through 3 separate programs. First one is through our rehabilitation replacement program. So whenever we're changing out a water main or rehabilitating water main, we're doing approximately 3,500 services per year on that. We're doing 1,500 services on a priority basis. So if someone wants to change out their lead service on private, we will change out the public side. and then we do about 500 a year on an emergency basis. Those are the ones that are leaking, et cetera. So that's been the average number over the course of the last few years.
Do we do any background checks, due diligence, like if we're going to promote this program, and I do support it, you know, I support your report, do we have to do any due diligence, you know, history, payment history for the background checks?
Through you, Madam Chair, the program is designed to do two parts. One, Toronto Water would do the intake of the application, because we're already doing that on the priority lead service agreement. With respect to the loan application, we would then refer that over to Revenue Services and our finance staff. They would check to see if the homeowner has any outstanding taxes, for example. So that's going to be a requirement for them to get the loan application or the loan amount. They actually have to pay for it in advance and submit the invoice as well. So the administration of the loan will be handled by our Revenue Services staff, and they will know payment history based on property taxes.
So how many do you estimate will take advantage of this, what would the estimate be?
Through you, Madam Chair, we believe it would be about 500 to about 1,500 that would take advantage of the program.
Okay.
And that's total. That's based on what has occurred in other municipalities that have run similar programs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I just have a couple questions. The General Manager of Toronto Water. My understanding is prior to this, there's been 2 reports, maybe 2.5 reports, turning down the concept of a loan program. Can you?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
And why is that?
At the time, there were some issues originally about how do you secure the loan. Very, very similar to the questions raised about payments, because this would be an unsecured loan. If you get into trying to secure the loan, then you get into complications of getting mortgagees and lenders to sign separate agreements. The administration then becomes a lot more expensive in comparison to the actual loan amount. So those were the big issues at the beginning. In addition, when the committee deliberated, they looked at the magnitude and the investment that would be required. It's usually about $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000, depending on how far your house is set back on the private side. And the committee members felt that that was a reasonable investment for homeowners to make to upgrade their infrastructure, because it is a pipe they own anyhow, in comparison to the value of their homes. So those were the discussions that I recall in the last 2 sessions that we had at Public Works considering this item.
And what are we spending on corrosion control and service line replacement and the faucet filtration program where people get free filters, and particularly low-income families get free rebates, $100 rebates on that, and the public education, all the free testing, all the testing in Toronto is free. Can you give me a number on what we're spending on that? It's
Sure.
really a big emphasis for you, isn't it?
Sure, Madam Chair. With respect to corrosion control, we've invested over the last couple of years over $10 million at our 4 treatment plants, and we're spending about $3 million a year to run the new corrosion control systems. And that's the phosphoric acid dosing system. In addition, that the cost of testing for that system is in the $3 million per year, and that will be ongoing until we see the results show that we can reduce the dosage, and we think we can save money in about 2 or 3 years, but we're still going to spend $2 million a year.
So we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on this strategy.
On the services side, we're spending anywhere from $12 to $15 million a year to implement the lead service replacement program that I just described in Councillor Moser's earlier question about how many services, the 5,000 services we change out a year. So we're spending 12 to 15 every year to replace those services.
And when we had the frozen pipes this past winter, a very difficult winter in Toronto, frozen pipes all over the city, people suffering without water, was there criticism from the second floor of City Hall because things weren't happening quick enough? And was that a resource issue to some extent?
The big criticism we heard from not only second floor, but mainly from our customers who were complaining to us and the second floor, it was about communications, about getting information to them. And yes, that was tied to resources. Having enough people mobilize quickly enough to communicate with thousands of people at once during a winter event that hit the city all at once. So yes, it's tied to resources, but it was strictly communicating, letting people know time frames of how long it would take us to service them.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to speak on this issue and move a motion. I've put a lot of, I think, effort into this and research and talked to staff extensively. I'd like to move that we defer this item indefinitely as a committee. Our job here is oversight for Toronto Water, and these staff are very taxed. They're very busy. They've got a lot on their plate. And as you heard from our general manager, we have got a very comprehensive lead water mitigation strategy in play, where we're making sure people have filters for free, and we're also making sure low-income families are taken care of. Extensive public education is being rolled out, as well as free testing to any household that asks for it in this city. Gets free testing. So we're doing a lot. Staff have written 2 negative reports on this loan program. We are not a bank. We're City Hall. And I think it's the responsibility of this committee to defer this item indefinitely, given the complexity of now making City Hall take out loans, lines of credits, all these very complex things that are eating up staff resources when we're doing an excellent job. Staff are doing an excellent job rolling out this strategy and really working very hard to make sure the infrastructure is renewed and that we're getting emergency replacements are being prioritized. So I hope the committee will support me on this.
Speaker?
Yes, Councillor Davis. We've moved into speaking.
I've been running around trying to get to meetings and come here.
Yeah.
And I was just in a meeting. This is a very important issue to me. I've worked on this for many years, and I'd like an opportunity to speak if I can.
Councillor Davis, we've got 7 minutes left. We've gone through questions.
I'm
We've gone
simply
through
asking if
speaking.
you would
You're not on the committee, so we have to proceed. We've run out of time, and we still have 7 or 8 items left.
Maybe a member of the committee would be kind enough to allow me to speak on this item and move a motion.
Okay, Councillor Moser and Councillor McMahon have agreed to let you speak, so you've got 5 minutes.
Council has already approved
Oh, no,
that
it's
we
5.
proceed
It's 5.
with a loan program. Council has considered this and said yes. They asked staff to come back with a proposed program, and that is what is before us. For those of the neighborhoods, and I was just last night at a meeting for a water project where residents were going to have their lead services replaced. And the number one item of concern was the cost. We have done extensive consultation through surveys and other means to find out why are residents in the City of Toronto not replacing their lead pipes. And the 2 main reasons that we found in our survey that Ipsos Reid did was that it was cost, it was knowledge of the impact, the health impacts of lead in water, were the 2 main reasons why they did not proceed to get their lead service replaced. We have close to 40,000 houses left in the City of Toronto that have lead pipes, and those pipes contribute to health, very real health impacts on children and pregnant women. The public health findings are clear, and part of what we need to do is to put in place all of the mechanisms that would help encourage residents to replace their lead pipes. The City of Hamilton has a program, London has a program, Brantford has a program, Kitchener-Waterloo has a program to provide financial assistance. Some are grants, some are loans. There are other examples in jurisdictions where they take the lead water pipe issue very seriously, such as Saskatoon, where they replace the pipe from the main to the meter and put that cost onto people's water bills. Now, I think that would have been better to have done it on the water bills, but we had to find ways to secure it. And our staff have come back with a very realistic revolving loan proposal that is manageable and is being recommended by them. So why we would turn around and say to the people of Toronto who can't afford to get their lead pipes replaced that we don't want to help you when we have a positive staff report before us? I would be embarrassed and very disappointed if we did not accept our staff recommendations that reflect the decision of council. At this point, we are only replacing about 20% of the pipes when we go in to replace lead substandard water services between the water main and a house. Only 20% of families are doing it. And we need to find ways to both encourage and support them to replace these pipes. That is the position of public health, and if I'd had an opportunity to ask questions of public health, they would have made it absolutely clear that the City of Toronto priority has got to be doing all we can to replace lead pipes in the City of Toronto. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davis. And if there's, okay, we've got another speaker. And we're, just to caution you, we have 4 minutes, Councillor Moser.
Okay. I'm going to move the staff recommendations. If this were a subsidy, I would not support this. Absolutely not. This is a hand up. And if you look at 34,000 homes and the number of people that lead is an issue. So I think this is a well-written report. They do the credit checks, and that's a question I ask. So I think you know, I think we should be approving this. You know, I have concerns about payback. The last resort is always we put it on the taxes. And that's always the last resort issue. But that our ability to do that is there. So I'm going to support this report.
Okay, is that all the speakers? All right, so we've got a motion before us to defer this item indefinitely. All those in favor? Against? Are you abstaining? Okay. Okay, so it loses on a tie. So we're going to move on quickly because we only have a couple of minutes to go.
Councillor Moser has a motion on the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, right. Motion to, good point, thank you. Motion to adopt the item before us. In favor? Against? So that will go to council. So I'm being advised by clerks that will go to council without recommendation. Okay, so we quickly